Hello, and welcome to the Student Experience podcast, where we will be chatting to members of the University of Suffolk community, giving them the opportunity to share their experience with us. I'm Sam, and I'm a member of the Student Experience and Engagement team, and in today's episode we are joined by Student Union Presidents Lewis Woolston and Katie Pickard. We discussed the role of the SU, their role as presidents, and we also reflected on their time as students at the university. So, Lewis and Katie, would you like to introduce yourselves and your roles at the university?
I'm the President of Education for the Students' Union. I've been at the university now actually since 2020, so I studied sports performance analysis for 3 years, then won the presidential election last year, ran under a slate with Katie, and now I'm sat in this seat talking to you guys.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Katie Pickard, she, her, and I'm President of Activities and Wellbeing here at the University of Suffolk. Very similar to Lewis, joined in 2020, did my course in early years primary education, was meant to go into teaching afterwards, but had a little change of heart and was like, I worked at the SU for 3 years, quite liked it here, wasn't ready to give up my uni days, so ran in the election with Lewis, and here we are.
Congratulations. So one question that we wanted to ask as well, I think for students to recognise the difference between the SU and the uni, are you able just to sort of help us work out what the difference is between the SU and the uni?
Absolutely. So we are a separate organisation to the university, so if you go on Companies House, you will see University of Suffolk as a private company and you'll see us as a company. We're a registered charity, so that's basically our funding model is a charity. So everything that we pay for essentially comes out of our own budget. All the events that we do comes out of our own budget. That being said, we do work with the university in partnership very closely. We like to think we're quite collaborative with the university. We do a lot of meetings and bits and pieces with the uni. We're also kind of that critical friend, I guess. One of my big responsibilities is to hold the university to account and to ensure that the university is delivering for students.
Okay.
So we're there to, be a friend and help the university out as much as possible, and they help us out as well a lot. But we're also there to, poke them in the shoulder when something isn't right and go, come on, we need to fix this so we can improve the student experience.
Awesome. Yeah, nice one.
So could you tell us a bit about what services the SU provide, maybe? Obviously people know a lot about societies, but there's other things.
Definitely. So the SU probably do more than people actually imagine. So like we said, we're impartial from the university. So one of our main things is advice. So say something goes wrong in your course, or a lecturer is not helping you the way they should, or academic misconduct of any kind, you can come to us and our advice is impartial from the university, which is one of the big things we do. Also, Food Bank is run through our advice service. So if anyone's struggling for food, they can come to us, fill out a form, and we'll provide them with a food bag. We also do a lot of signposting to other services that they might need help with as well. We are in charge of all democracy at the university. So course reps, so each course should have 1 or 2 course reps. So if you're having a problem with your course, your first point of call is to go to your course rep, and then they can come to us and then we sort it from there. We also have part-time officers, which are very similar. They're volunteer, running the election, very similar to what me and Lewis did. And they become your part-time officer, so you can have school, one's liberation, widen access part-time officers as well. So any of that is all done for our democracy. Obviously, as you said, sports and societies. We have football, netball, pole, basketball, and then we have a bunch of societies that are running that can all be found on our website as well. We also do all your freshers, so freshers, refreshers, and any other events throughout the year, as well as all the stuff me and Lewis do in our manifesto. So they actually do loads.
That's a lot. I really liked in freshers this year as well, how it was divided between 2 different days, services one day, organisations the other day. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, it worked so much better because it's a big space, but when you have 400 students walking in trying to see different things, we kind of felt that maybe the sports teams and societies weren't recognised as much when you'd go to the free pizza or you'd go to the free drinks rather than go and speak to a society, whereas having it spread out made it a lot easier for you to one day get all the freebies and one day actually find the help services, find your sports teams, your societies, all of that stuff.
Awesome. Nice one. And a little bit more about sort of what the SU do as well, but mainly sort of your roles, I guess. So I think you guys have done amazing this year. We always hear your names out and about, and I mean even the Home Away from Home campaign, Katie, as well. That's amazing. So would you like to talk about sort of like the the things you've enjoyed most about your roles this year, your sort of biggest successes, I guess, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role being education, I always joke a little bit, it's the boring role. I do all the serious stuff and Katie gets to do all the fun stuff, which to an extent is ever so slightly true, but I also do some really, really important stuff. And I think one of the biggest overall achievements, I guess, for this year is like delivering for students. I really enjoy going out there and making positive change and ensuring that students feel that impact, even though they might not know I've done that. So at the start of the year, I worked really closely with some university staff to change the training that's given to personal academic coaches. So they've now got essentially a better set of training, as well as that all meetings between coaches and students are recorded via the coach. They've basically got like an online form system. Okay. So it's essentially minutes of the meeting. So we don't get those he said, she said situations, which is what kind of seems to happen in the past before it was in place. So I definitely say that's one of my big successes of the year. But the thing I enjoy most is being out and about, seeing students, kind of almost being a pretend student. I'm still a student trustee. I still get to join in with a lot of the fun things that students get to do. So I'm really, really lucky to be able to do that. But you mentioned Home Away from Home, which has been sublime this year. I can't talk highly enough about it, so I'll let Katie chat about it. But I've been involved in that as well, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be involved in.
Yeah, so I think the one thing I love about my role is like no 2 days are the same. So like, for example, tomorrow we've got our turnaround board and we've got an important meeting in the morning, and then last week we were hiding frogs around campus. Next week we're going lamb cuddling. So you just you just never know what the day is going to bring. I think with SUs as well, like something can pop up so last minute and then your whole day changes around that, but it's always that fun and excitement, like what are we going to do today. So some days are hard and like quite tough, and some days are really fun, so it just really balances out and makes it great. But Home Away from Home will have to be my like biggest success of the year, I'd say. When deciding on our manifesto points last year, I thought when I was away at university living away from home, being in accommodation can be quite lonely, especially if you haven't made your friends yet. Absolutely. And there was so much in like other unis, especially with freshers going out and getting drunk. And if that's not what you want to do, then how are you expected to make friends?
Absolutely.
So especially with international students as well, like moving to a different country without your family, without your friends, it's a very like scary experience for a lot of students, especially if you're 18-year-old, like never left home before, and then you're put in this totally new environment. So Home Away from Home was about introducing people to each other, but like fun activities. So it's not all drinking, it's not all crafts, but it's a mixture of like all sorts. So tonight we have dinner club and we're going to play some board games, play some bingo, we're going to paint rocks and all sorts, all whilst all getting a free dinner as well. So it's about providing free food, making friends, and just giving students that time off from studies to really enjoy themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been really successful so far, and hopefully carry on for the rest of the year.
And the turnout's always been really good. Looking at the videos and photos.
We did our win-win-win, where we had like a mini like summer fete in the SU space, and there's loads of different prizes they could win. I think we worked out we had over 100 people come through and take part, which is really amazing to see.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think the thing as well, especially about Home Away from Home, one of the things we've learned massively is that students don't necessarily, they're always incentivized to do something. So it's always, fill out this survey and get a voucher, which is brilliant. It's a great way to get people involved, but it's also really great for students to be able to come into university and just get something. So I think it was, I was on leave last week, but you did,
donuts. Donut worry.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Yes. We had 140 Krispy Kreme donuts that we walked around campus and handed out, just to like a little pick me up for students. But the amount of students were like, but why? And I was like, just to be nice. And they were like, but what do we have to do? And I was like, you don't have to do anything, just take a donut, smile, I don't know. And they were like, we never just get things. We're always expected to do something in return. So they were all thinking like, we got to follow this, or do we have to fill out this to get a donut? And I was like, no, you just get the donut.
Just get a donut.
Because students deserve that. They pay enough money to come here. It's hard to be a student, especially with the cost of living and everything. So it's nice just to be able to go, no, here, have this to cheer yourself up, or just help yourself out a little bit. So it's really nice to be able to do that for the students.
Awesome, lovely. And I guess just to wrap up sort of the SU side and your roles. So if a student wanted to access any sort of events or just advice or just to speak to you guys? How could students do that?
Yeah, there's loads of ways that students can do that. The easiest way, I'd say, is just to come on campus and see us. So we're based at the ground floor of the library building. You'll come in and see our social space. There's a little reception desk there as well. We run an open door office policy, so anyone can come in and come and see us in our offices. If you're not sure where they are, you can just ask the person on the desk and they'll point you in the right direction. As well as that, me and Katie are relatively accessible on social media. We've got our own Instagram page and social media pages, so you can DM that. Although Katie isn't going to be replying to DMs at 12 o'clock on a Sunday night, I'm afraid. So, within working hours. As well as that, our email addresses, SU email address is su@us.ac.uk. You can also go on our website as well. There's loads of ways of getting in contact. And if you're not sure, just ask someone at the university, whether it's your lecturer or someone on a reception desk somewhere or Student Life Centre or you guys, just ask and you'll be able to reach us.
Awesome, lovely.
So it sounds like, you're really enjoying your roles and you're certainly glad that you're doing them. So in terms of what first year attracted you to, put your names into the hat to being the presidents?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Good question.
Katie asked me.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
I think so obviously we both worked in the SU for 2 and a bit years by the time we were decided to run. And there was a lot I noticed that could still be done for students. So I was like, oh, this is great, but it would have been good to have this, or I don't think I had enough support in this area and providing this for students. And I was like, but I could do that. So I was really already had these ideas going of all these things that need to be improved to help students.
Sure.
And I was like, the only way to do that is to speak up.
Yeah.
And this job is the best way to do that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'd like someone to run with. That would be nice. And me and Lewis actually worked together on a recruitment event for our old CEO. And so we were in the panel for that. And we spent the day doing that. And at the end, I was like, oh, do you want to run for a president's with me? And he was like, I'll think about it. And then, a couple of months later, we planned everything and we were ready to go.
Oh, wow.
Nominated ourselves, was it January, February time, and then elections are every March.
Yeah,
that's a great story.
I think one of the things with these roles in particular is the opportunities that you get. So Katie mentioned it earlier about no 2 days are the same. So this morning I was cleaning out a coffee machine. Now I'm chatting to you guys. After this, I'm going straight into a meeting to talk about open days and how we can do open days better. How the SU can be at open days and how the university can make open days better in general. We both sit on the board of trustees for our student union. We also both sit on the board of directors for the university, so we're the student voice in a lot of rooms. And I would argue that the student voice is the most important voice. It's the whole reason that everyone is here at this university is for the students.
Yeah.
So I think it's the range of opportunities that we get. I know Kate mentioned we're going lamb cuddling next week or week after. So it's crazy that we get the opportunities to kind of go and do those fun student-y things like lamb cuddling, freshers, pizza eating, all of that. But then we get the opportunity to also go and be on the board of directors. I've been to Parliament twice.
I was going to ask you about that. That's quite cool.
So every couple of months, NUS hold what's called the APPG, which is the all-party parliamentary group. Sorry, it's a mouthful, that one.
Wow.
For students and student representatives up and down the country get to go along. There's usually a topic. So the two that we've been to, one was about student employment, and the first one was about renters reform. So the renters reform bill is something that's happening and it goes through Parliament at a later stage. And we get the opportunity to go to Parliament, go and speak to MPs directly and kind of represent the students of Suffolk. And that's really, really important to us, that Suffolk is now a national voice, not just a local voice.
Absolutely.
We've always done the local bit really nicely, but I think it's important that we're now kicking on and representing ourselves nationally and saying, okay, we're Suffolk, we're serious about being a university, we're serious about delivering for our students.
Putting us on the map.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the spaces we get to do that in, so it's important that we get out there and do that.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you want students to come from obviously Suffolk, but further afield as well, and stay in accommodation and that sort of thing. And
if you'd asked us this time last year, how popular is Suffolk, maybe we wouldn't be as kind. But now I think it is getting put on the map. It's becoming a bigger uni. Our research is growing, our facilities are growing, and only more things are going to come in the future to improve that. So I really do hope Suffolk will be a standout uni very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I was asked to speak in Parliament, I'd be panicking. How did you feel speaking in Parliament?
The first time was ever slightly nerve-wracking. You are there's a lot of eyes on you. I think there was the first time I went, there was about 50 of us in there, I reckon, and the second time was a little bit smaller. But I kind of like, the best thing I find is you just think they're just humans. Yeah. We're all human beings. Yeah. We're all the same. Mm-hmm. We all want the same things. But it was really nice, the fact that you were there with a lot of other student representatives who are kind of in the same boat. So you feel quite empowered. The fact that you're there representing Suffolk and they're there representing Exeter, London, wherever else it may be in the country. So it is slightly nerve-wracking, but I kind of like to think of how important it is that Suffolk's voice is out there and how important it is that me and Katie were able to deliver that for Suffolk students. Yeah. And after all, it wasn't that bad. It's like doing a presentation for your assignment. Yeah. You get a bit nervous for it, you do it, and you go, actually, it's all right. Yeah. But then we go again, kind of towards Christmas time. There is one this month, which I can't make, unfortunately, but there is also another one later on in the year, which I think we're both hoping to go to. So yeah, but it's also a really fun experience. Like I said, it's one of those really unique things we get to do, and it's a great opportunity that you kind of want to take advantage of, because again, our roles are only 1 to 2 years, so exactly, you've got to do it while you can. It may never come up again, so you've got to make the most. Exactly, absolutely.
So in terms of maybe some advice that you'd give to students maybe considering joining the uni, obviously we're trying to get a university name on the map for students maybe coming further afield, or local students. So what would you sort of say?
I'd really say the uni is what you make of it. So if you come to any university you go to, if you go and don't put any effort in, or don't go to your lectures, don't go to the events, don't even know where the library building is, then you're not going to have a great experience.
That's so true.
The people that have the best experience at uni are the ones that really put themselves out there. And it might be scary for some students, but that's why a lot of universities have the smaller events, or they'll have smaller teams that you can go and have a chat to. Even with our chaplaincy, you can come in at any point and have a chat and have a free drink. And it's just nice to put yourself out there and like give things a go. Because until you actually do it, how are you going to know what you enjoy? Exactly. So if you come to university and don't do anything, you're probably not going to enjoy it. But say with me, I came, got a job at the SU, started going to all the events, like became a course rep, really put myself out there, and then I had the best experience possible. And it was scary at first because you don't know anyone on your course. No. But it is really just try your best, give everything a go, because it's the only way you'll learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And now thinking about you guys as students as well. So should we start with you, Katie? So what course did you study, and how did you find your student experience?
So I did early years primary education with the hopes of one day becoming a teacher. Okay. I really, really enjoyed it. I loved it. It was a mixture of in lectures and at a local primary school doing my placement as well. Oh, wow. Awesome. So I was with a year 4 class, and then I moved into year 1 as well, which was amazing. Yeah. I really did learn a lot from the course, and I really did want to go into teaching. And I probably will still one day after this job, who knows. But yeah, I loved my uni experience, really did get involved with everything. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome, lovely. How about you, Lewis?
Yeah, so I studied sports performance analysis. I can't commend the sports team enough. They were really, really good. I had a really great experience on the course. The amount of practical that we got to do and kind of hands-on work we got to do was really, really good. One of the big advantages of coming to a smaller university is that we always say you're a name, not a number. Yeah. So for those that have been to bigger universities or been to kind of big lecture theatres and things like that, you can go into a lecture on your course and you're one of 400 people or something, which is great if that's what you want. Absolutely fine. Yeah. But your name here, I knew all of my lecturers by name. They all knew my name. They all knew the sports I liked. They all knew what I did kind of after my lectures and stuff. They all knew that I worked in the SU. So I think that was kind of pivotal to my experience. Yeah. You make your experience what it is. So if you put in the effort. So I, during my second year, went and found myself a placement. It was with a sports team that I'd worked with for a number of years. I played for them just before, and I kind of did some analysis for them and set them up with their own video system and things like that. But I had to do that off my own back. Now, there are ways that you can do that with the university, and you go to the careers team and say, okay, I'm looking for a placement. I want to do this and this. Can you help me out? Yep. But you can also kind of lead it yourself. Yeah, and one of the things that's really key to us within the SU is that we aim to be as student-led as possible. And I think if students coming here kind of start thinking about, okay, well, what can I be doing to lead myself as a student?
Yep.
Then they're already going to kind of find success
exactly
before they've even started.
Yep.
So I would say, those are kind of the key tips, I guess, I would have
awesome.
to being a student.
I have to say it's quite bizarre actually, because I studied early childhood, which has crossover with the course that you studied, and obviously you studied.
I've done the same course as you.
Yeah,
so,
that's crazy.
Well, we can certainly echo that, and that's one of the reasons why I came to the uni initially. I mean, I'm local, but also the smaller class size means that you can get to know the lecturers and sort of really engage with the software that's available and the facilities that are available.
And what would you say had sort of attracted you to study at Suffolk in particular?
For me, it was the course.
Okay.
I wanted to do something that was very, very specific. Now, I don't know what it is today, but when I was applying to universities in 2019, 2020, was it back then? Yeah, back then. I wanted to do sports performance analysis. I knew that was where my heart was at, and I think there was only 3 undergraduate courses in the country, one being Derby, one being Cardiff, and one being here. I didn't want to go to Cardiff. I can't remember why now. I looked at Derby but wasn't particularly impressed.
Sure.
And then the next choice was Suffolk, and I didn't really choose it because it was a local university. I was more than happy to go away. But the facilities and the lecturers kind of really sold it to me at the open days, and I was really, really impressed. So I thought, that's the one, and haven't regretted it ever since.
Awesome.
Stayed on for a bit longer.
How about you, Kate?
Mine's slightly different. I went to a different university before, started studying psychology at a different university. There was 350 or something on my course. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And with my health issues, they weren't as supportive as I needed. So I had to drop out. I came back and I got a job for a bit. And then I was like, no, I do want to go back to university. I'll give Suffolk a chance. And I was very much in my head, I'll just get my degree and go. I don't need to join in with freshers. I don't need to make friends. I've got my friends in Suffolk already. I'll just crack on with it. And now you probably couldn't find a person that loves this university more than I do. So for someone who didn't want to come to this university particularly, to now, the person who probably loves it the most, it is quite crazy. But it is that thought that I did to begin with, didn't want to get stuck in, and all it takes is one person to be like, "Oh, come to this." I did, and now here I am, the president of activities and wellbeing. Funny how life works out sometimes.
Absolutely, that really is. For me as well, this wasn't my first choice university. I wanted to go to a different one. This was actually my second choice, but I'm so glad, looking back, that it happened that way, because I met my wife here and everything. It's done everything for me.
Everything for a reason.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, knowing what you know now, is there anything you do differently from a time when you were a student? Maybe you get more involved or do something differently?
There was a couple bits that I didn't know the SU specifically could do for me. So one of the things we say a lot is, if there's something that isn't there for you but you want it to be a thing, we can make it happen, especially when it comes to sports and societies. So to set up a society, you only need 2 people, one of them being yourself and a friend. And you can then come together and create your own society, and then get other people involved, and you'll get a little bit of budget to work with and things like that. And you'll be able to book out our spaces, and et cetera, et cetera. And there's kind of a lot of interests that I still have today that I didn't really weren't able to express at uni.
Sure.
And I wish I knew coming into, it would have been second year because first year was COVID, but coming into second year, I wish I knew that I could go to the SU and say, okay, I want this to be a thing. How do I do this? And then that helps me out. So we try and do that as much as possible. We say it as much as possible. But I wish I knew that when I came in as a student.
I think mine would be to not put as much pressure on myself. I think I came in thinking I've just got to get this degree, I've got to do well. And maybe in my first year, I didn't do as much as I should have done, or I wouldn't speak up in lectures because I didn't know the answer, or I wouldn't get involved with things because I was like, well, I don't know that. But you're in the same position as everyone else. Other people don't know that as well. So it was just like maybe put myself out there a bit more, or maybe go on a few nights out with like the sports teams a bit more, join the sports teams earlier. I think that sort of thing, just really getting involved from an early stage is probably the best way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned COVID, so I can imagine obviously you guys were very much affected by COVID. how would you sort of describe your student experience during the COVID times as well?
Limited.
Yeah.
Really,
Limited is what the word I use. So I lived at home during first year because I was came to the conclusion, I was like, well, there's no point in moving out because I'd be moving out to sit in a different room.
Yeah.
So yeah, I lived at home. I think I came to campus 3 times in that whole year.
Really? Wow.
So yeah, limited, but no one's fault. And the university were great in what trying to adapt and deliver what they could.
Yeah.
But I think that almost made second and third year so much better because I had such a contrast between the two.
Of course.
Yeah. Second year moved out and was like, wow, okay, I can really get stuck in and get involved now.
Absolutely.
Hence I did, and hence we're sat here now.
Yeah.
So I would say, really limited, but it did provide a really nice contrast between the two.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it's very similar. I lived at home for my first year because I thought there's no point moving out. Same as Lewis. But yeah, it was different. It was harder to make friends when you weren't seeing them on campus. But it was just being adapting. So we were having calls on FaceTime instead of meeting in person for a while. Or when we could, we'd go on walks in the park and discuss lectures and that sort of thing there instead. So it wasn't as this student experience I was expecting, but it was still really good and I enjoyed it.
I remember one of the best things about second year was when everyone came in for the first time and you knew everyone's name, but you didn't know their face.
Right.
So you had to start matching them all up in second year because you'd seen it all on the Zoom calls and stuff. But then you started matching faces and you're kind of like, oh, okay, I've done some work with you before in breakout rooms, which did make it a lot easier to our class became gelled very, very quickly because we all knew each other's names and interests and stuff. We just didn't know each other's faces.
Sure.
So yeah, that was quite an interesting experience.
Yeah,
I guess that's the good thing about when it comes to starting the uni and not knowing anyone. In terms of the people in your course, you already have a shared interest. So that's something straight away. Like your course, for example, they're an Arsenal fan, you're an Arsenal fan or whatever. Yeah. And that's already helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially with mine, we all knew we kind of wanted to go into education, so that was the common thing we all shared. And I remember we started our group chat maybe 3 months before uni actually started. So there was a Facebook page and someone put, oh, I'm on this course, and I was like, oh, I'm on that course. So I messaged them, and by the end we had all 25 of us already in the group chat before uni had even started as well, which was really nice because we'd all got to know each other a bit. So I'd met up with quite a few of my course mates before we'd even joined the uni, which is really lovely. So I say, if you're looking to join a uni, check the Facebook pages because quite a lot of unis do have that as well for different courses. It's a really good way to find your friends before. If you're maybe a little nervous about coming, not knowing anyone, you can maybe meet them one-to-one before the course even starts.
Absolutely.
That goes for accommodation as well. So accommodations tend to have their own Facebook chats pages, whatever you want to call them. I don't use Facebook.
So Athena Hall has one.
That's a good way of reaching out to first year new students.
That's good.
Who are moving in for the first time.
I think a lot of them end up doing WhatsApp groups and stuff like that as well.
Absolutely.
I think belonging is something that students in first year must really struggle with. I didn't live in accommodation my first year, but I know a lot of students did struggle with belonging. So actually, I can imagine having that group chat was probably really good.
Yeah, it was really useful to have.
So it's sort of a tradition we have on this podcast. We might have slightly ripped off another podcast idea, but basically it's called Ask One, Answer One. So first part of this is you asking a question for the next guests, and then the next part of it is then you answer the question for the previous guest as well.
Right, okay.
So what question would you like to ask our next guest?
Do we know who the next guest is?
No.
Okay. So it could be a student, staff.
That's proper tough. Do you want to go as something along the lines of what's the most important thing about this university to that person or
and I could go for a staff or student. So.
Perfect. Okay, so now for the question that you was left by the previous guest. So let's go back to when you were students. If you were to set up a society, what would be that society?
So obviously I was president of the netball team, so that was what I was quite involved in. One of the things we did a lot is because we had a little dead parent club, which sounds a bit weird, but 4 of us on the netball team had dead parents.
Oh, really? Okay.
And when you're a 18, 19-year-old, you might not have met anyone else with a dead parent.
No,
so to have 4 of us in one netball team that all had that, it was nice to have someone to talk to about it who kind of understood. So we did loads of fundraising for that. So maybe, I don't know if I could call it the Dead Parent Society, but something like that for students who might have lost a parent or a sibling or a child or anything like that. I think it's really important for people to have people they can relate to and
definitely
kind of have someone that understands them. So I'd probably do something towards that.
And I think a lot of people don't know how to talk about grief, do they?
No, they don't.
Yeah,
no.
So having people who do understand it is,
and people deal with it in such different ways. So there's like
absolutely
the 4 of us luckily all kind of deal with it with humour. So some of the jokes we made probably other people would find really uncomfortable, but we understood because that's a lot of people's way of dealing with it. So it's really nice to have them people that kind of understand your humour and understand where that's coming from. So that'd be my society, I reckon.
Thanks for sharing.
Mine's going to sound really nerdy now. I'd probably go for something along the lines of politics society. As I'm sure you guys are aware, we've got a general election coming up this year, but it's something we're really starting to think about. And I know that SUs throughout the country have a lot of kind of politically active societies. And I think it's really important that students start thinking about who they're voting for, the reasons they're voting, what's important to them. And we need to kind of start thinking about how we can engage our students politically and getting as many of them to vote in the general election, because it's really important that we do. What we do as an SU is all about voice and representation and ensuring student voices are heard. So what's a vehicle we can now use to do that? And I think kind of having a politics society or something along that line.
Debating
society would be a really good way of getting students who've kind of got that interest to come together and say, okay, well, I think this and I think this party are the best party, and have someone else who goes, oh, well, no, actually, I think this, but ensuring that's a safe space. So students feel that, it's safe that they can share that, and, that it's not personal at the end of the day. It's just part of your interest and part of your passion for that. And it would be a really good way of getting students involved and getting them thinking about general election for later this year.
And I know that some unis like the Oxford Uni, they have like debating society.
Absolutely.
They could maybe model it on if someone listening, for example, is interested in something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the society is 2 people to set up. No, it used to be. If you just said 3 to me, Kate's just signalled 3 to me. I might have been saying it wrong.
You need a president, a treasurer, and secretary.
Okay, maybe it's 3. I'm so sorry, guys.
No problem.
Okay, so you need 3 people to set up society. So it would be great to be able to see students kind of use their political voice a bit more and start thinking about general elections. So I would definitely, politics or debating is what I'll go for.
Awesome. Lovely.
Okay, really enjoyed that.
You've been really great guests.
Thank
you so much for your time.
It's been fun.
It's been good.
So until next time, goodbye from Lewis.
See you later.
Goodbye from Katie.
Bye.
Goodbye from Brandon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye from me. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to the Student Experience podcast. If you would like to be a future guest, email studentexperiencesteam@uos.ac.uk or follow the links to our podcast application form through our Brightspace page. You can also reach out to us through our Instagram page, UOS_student experience.